So in this video, I'm going to take a look at Cobra's brand new lineup of putters for 2021, and we've got a little bit of technology to talk about. So they've got a 3D printing putter. We've seen them bring that out last year, I think it was. They've redeveloped it, brought out some extra models now, so we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to test that, and also then the vintage range. So this doesn't include the 3D printed technology, more of a classic style putter, but there is some technology in the face that we're going to sort of talk about. So we're going to do a little comparison between the standard vintage against this new 3D printed high MOI is a message from Cobra. We're going to test that on SAM Putt Lab, provide you with some data of the differences for me personally, and obviously we'll report that back to you. Okay, so we'll start off with the vintage range to begin with. So we have 6 models available in the vintage range. Typically, we've got some weighting in the sole of the club, which I believe you can buy or purchase extra weights depending on what weight you would like to have. But we're featuring this sick face technology. So what we are seeing here now is different lofts on different parts of the club face, which, to be honest, I've not seen before in the past, which is quite interesting. So we'll start with the bottom of the club face. You see the face is split into like 4 strips up the club face. So that bottom strip, 1 degree of loft. The second strip is 2 degrees, 3 degrees, and the top strip is then 4 degrees. So depending on how you attack the ball, so if you hit a little bit down on it, typically your strike might be a little bit high in the club face. There's some loft there to try and get the ball not to drill into the ground and try and keep it sort of skid basically and improve that roll. And vice versa, you hit very up on the golf ball, we would tend to see more of a lower strike on the club face. There's less loft, less chance of that ball launching and hopping down its journey. So some interesting technology there. We're going to have a little go with that and test that. So this particular one I'm using here is the Sport 45, more of a classic sort of blade putter, a bit of heel and toe, obviously weighting there, more of your classic style, not the sort of shape I prefer, but I know a lot of golfers will. Let's give a few putts a hit. Yeah, that feels really good off the club face. Okay, so that definitely seems to be rolling quite nicely, not going in the hole at the moment, but it's sort of rolling, seems to feel like it's rolling quite nicely off that club face. So as I said, there is a number of models in this vintage range. So obviously if you go into more of the mallet style putters, as you can see here, you're going to increase that MOI in the actual putter. So more weight in that back section, away from that club face, into the corners, the heel and the toe, typically creates a more stable putter face, especially on those slight mishits when we go into that heel and the toe section. So again, something for you to go and try and test yourselves. Obviously there's a personal element to putters. You know, when you look down at a putter, I think it's, for me personally, it's got to look good behind the golf ball, and obviously then if it tries to fit in with your tendencies of your stroke, you know, so we've got face balance, we've got toe hang, depending on the arc that you're putting into the stroke, then obviously certain putters will suit certain strokes. Right, so let's move into the 3D. This is their main technology that Cobra are really going to sort of push, and what they're saying is high MOI. So what's 3D? And we have seen this before from Cobra in the last range of putters, slightly more developed now in this range. So we're seeing like a 3D printed nylon lattice. So you see all this crisscrossing in the back section. So that'll see that nylon, incredibly lightweight. So saving weight just with that sort of lattice sort of pattern basically. It's creating like obviously the strength in the actual head, but a very, very lightweight. We've then got an aluminium crown. So again, aluminium, lightweight, saving weight. And then what you'll visibly see is 2 like tungsten plugs in the heel and the toe. So obviously tungsten being heavier, pushing that weight into that heel, into that toe, saving the weight in that center section is making that putter very sort of perimeter weighted in a way, isn't it? So more, again, stable on those miss hits. That's the real big sort of message. Now, this is the blade putter here. So going from that vintage blade to this blade, it's what they are calling an oversize blade. It's not the best looking club visually, I don't think. I'm not a great lover of that shape anyway, but it is a little bit more sort of bigger down by that golf ball, could fill you with confidence. Again, it's a personal thing on the looks of the putter. Okay, and again, we're still featuring the SICK face technology. So SIK, it's the brand that Bryson DeChambeau's using with his putter. So we've still got that technology on the face. Yeah, and that really rolls off fantastically well, that club face there. Straight away there's a slightly different acoustic sound to that in comparison to that vintage. Vintage a little bit more, probably a solid feel. This feels a little bit softer, a little bit slightly different noise on the connection, but feels very, very good. So that was a little bit low in the face, but that seemed to strike quite, roll very nicely. So again, maybe that lower loft in that low part of the club face keeps the ball rolling, not jumping. And I didn't quite strike that one that great, or don't commit to that stroke. So in the 3D printed range, we have 3 different models, and there's arm lock options in 2 of those models as well. So more of that sort of oversized blade we've just shown you there, the Fang version, and then this sort of real big one. Obviously, again, looks, it's a personal choice, isn't it? Not everybody's going to like the look of this type of putter. But obviously, again, talking about MOI, we've got the 3D lattice. You can really see that intricate sort of pattern inside the actual club. It's all visible from the outside. So again, there's loads of weights here. There, aluminium crown, those tungsten weights, so you can see now 2 in the back, 2 in the front, both in the heel and the toe, massively helping with that MOI. Okay, so we're going to do a comparison between the vintage blade putter and also then the 3D printed blade putter. So the vintage putter is the Sport 45 model, and the 3D one is called the Grand Sport 35. So we've tested this on SAM Putt Lab. We've hit 10 putts with each putter, and obviously Sam will measure exactly what's happening through the actual stroke, how I aim, the path, the face, the strike, everything like that. So we're going to look at some results here. So you can see this is the Sport 45 in the vintage range, and this is my initial face aim. So I'm typically aiming the putter on average for 1.4 degrees open to target. So my face aim isn't particularly great, but I'm quite consistent. As you can see, 91% of aiming it to the right. Now, granted, I'm not probably the best putter in there. I have got issues in my putting stroke, something I need to work on. Could be a future video working on my putting stroke and showing you really how SAM Putt Lab actually works. But look, then looking at impact, so you can see face impact there. Again, this is with a vintage, and I'm delivering the putter 0.5 degree closed. Again, this is an average, which again needs to be sort of improved. Percentage wise, at 79% is again a little bit down. Just a couple of the little info to look at there. So this is the strike patterns there, you can see with the vintage. So the consistency of the strike is good. Little bit in that toe, so you can see my strike spot number at 75% is in amber, so a little bit down on that exact positioning of the strike location. Okay, so then moving over to the results for the 3D printed in the Grand Sport model. So obviously a bit more of an oversize, but still that heel and toe weighted putter. So you can see again, my aim, I'm pretty consistent again, 1.7 degrees open. I was 1.4 with the vintage. So still in that open position, so the aim hasn't changed much there. Into the impact position, much better. So you can see 0.2 degrees closed, 84%, the consistency at 91%. So that's has increased quite nicely there, because I think we were 70% impact and the consistency was 79. So big improvement there on how I brought that club back to impact. And obviously with the improved impact position of my club face on point of contact, you can see my ball direction at 0.3 left. Again, consistency number at 92%. So I'm going to be holing more putts there. And quite interesting to look at then is my strike pattern. My strike pattern wasn't as good with the 3D printed. You can see the consistency is way down at 50%. The spot was a little bit more centered, but a few heel and toe misses there. So again, thinking about that stability, the nylon 3D printed saving weight aluminium top section to it, those tungsten weights in the heel and toe, increasing that MOI has helped me out there, because my ball direction has been
more accurate, more square, more consistent, even though my strike pattern has deteriorated from the vintage putter.
Okay, so all the putters come with the sort of larger, a bit like a Super Stroke style of grip, obviously all branded up with Cobra, so a little bit of a slightly larger grip size on there, and they're all built in again with all the Cobra clubs you find now with the Arcos into the butt end of the golf club, so you can obviously do your tracking out on the golf course. Okay, so round that up, what are my thoughts on those two ranges from Cobra? I think, to be honest, the vintage range is a classic looking range, isn't it? You know, so if you want more of that classic putter, maybe that slightly cheaper price point in comparison to the 3D, that's probably a good range to have a little look at. You're getting the technology of that sick face. I think that's a really good advantage there that Cobra are offering. Makes a lot of sense from what I see through my SAM Putt sessions here at Penrith Golf Club, you know, in terms of strike patterns and how golfers take loft off through that impact position depending on what they do and how they attack that putter. Moving into the 3D, yes, I think it's a different look. Again, it's that personal, I keep saying that, but it is a personal thing. Some people pick them up and just go, no, don't like them. There's too much going on, too big, a bit too spaceship style. Some guys will love it, some won't even be bothered of what it looks like. I think the feel of the putter, I prefer the 3D feel off the putter face. It does feel stable. We saw some nice little results on the SAM Putt Lab against the 3D versus the vintage. So I think there is an advantage there. You've just got to maybe get past the looks for me. And at the end of the day, it's Cobra, isn't it? Are Cobra really renowned for putters? It's a tough market, isn't it? Scotty Cameron, Odyssey, TaylorMade, very much sort of leading it, aren't they? I think, you know, it's still a Cobra brand on there. Hopefully they can make a difference of that. The putter is good. I think it's worth looking at. Love to hear your comments as always, so do post them in the section down below. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you have, please just hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Importantly, YouTube, do like that, it does help me, so appreciate you just clicking that if you can, and hopefully we'll catch up with you all very soon.